It's about 800,000 square feet, the largest Honda dealership built in America, because we've always believed we were going to be number one.
A gas station, barbershop, and actual courthouse. 3 surprising things that can be found at one of the nation's top Honda dealerships. But the real secret to building one of the most successful dealer groups in the nation, philanthropy, and lots of it. Today, I'm speaking with Rita Case, CEO of the legendary Rick Case Auto Group based out of South Florida. Don't forget to click subscribe so you never miss an episode. But before we get into the show, this episode is brought to you by Podium. Here's a question. How much would your business change if you had one more employee who worked 24/7 to turn every lead, including the ones that come in after hours, into a test drive, sale, and more money for your dealership? Meet Jerry, Podium's new AI BDC. Jerry is a lead conversion powerhouse designed to respond instantly to every incoming lead, to answer questions accurately, keep leads warm, and schedule test drives, all without direct human supervision. The best part? With a seamless handoff to staff on the sales floor, customers will never know they were interacting with an AI to begin with. Text CDG to 706-710-2303 to see how Jerry is selling more cars for dealerships around the country. That's CDG to 706-710-2303, or click the link in the show notes below. This episode is also brought to you by 4eyes. Batman and Robin, Jordan and Pippin, Frodo and Sam. You get the idea. Now add to the roster of heroes elevated by an iconic sidekick, salespeople and 4eyes. When salespeople need to stay in front of more prospects and BDC teams can't grind any harder, dealerships turn to 4eyes. 4eyes supports sellers with a complementary skill set that elevates their performance. This includes automated lead logging, personalized inventory updates based on shoppers' interests, and real-time alerts when a prospect is back on your website. All this while making sure dealers maintain control of their process the entire time. Automotive is a people business, and 4eyes is in the business of helping your people stay in the spotlight. You can learn more at 4eyes.io or click the link in the show notes below. Rita Case on the CDG podcast. Rita, welcome.
Hey, thank you very much, OC.
How does a husband and wife duo, 2 car dealers, get to be number one in the country?
Listen, we had a lot of fun the whole way. I was very good in one area of the business. He was very good in another area of the business. So that was the first key to our success. I was really involved in the office, parts and service, human resources, and building that part of the business to structure the operations. And he was about how can I sell more than anybody else? So we both had different directions, and that made a very good combination for a very successful partnership. We both wanted to be the best we could be at what we were doing. We respected each other. That's, I think, is key. But when it came down to compromise, we would make a list. He would say what he thought was, and I'd say what I thought. If it was a tie, he always won. I always let him win. But, and that was okay. That was just the way the partnership worked.
And how many years did you and your late husband, Rick, how many years did you work together with?
Well, we actually, when we met, which was in 1977 at a Honda 20 group meeting, we ended up getting married in 1980. So I was in Santa Rosa, California. He was in Akron, Ohio. So we never lived together or anything. When we got married is when we started our actual, married life together. So it was since 1980, we've been together and building our business together.
Wow. So you worked as a husband and wife duo for, 40 years, roughly speaking. And I want to ask you about that, but you also came from a car dealership family. Is that correct?
Well, my dad was one of the first Honda motorcycle dealers in 1959 when they came to the country. And in 1968, when Honda decided to bring a car to the United States, they offered it to their motorcycle dealers because that was their network. And my dad was the first assigned Honda automobile dealer in the country. So he's dealer number 1. And that was in Santa Rosa, California. The car dealers were originally given to California dealers because Honda was based in LA, their motorcycle division, and that's how it started. So my dad was a motorcycle dealer. He ended up becoming a Honda car dealer in 1968. I started selling Hondas when I was in high school because it was such a small little car. If you remember, the engine was less powerful than some of the Honda motorcycles produced at the time, and it was the smallest car presented in America. It was even smaller than the Volkswagen Beetle. So I was selling those in high school and after school at my parents' shop. So that's how I got my car. That's how I started with my car. But mainly we were selling motorcycles. It wasn't until the oil embargo that the Honda product really took off. Same with Datsun and with Toyota.
So this was meant to be, right? You came from a family with selling Hondas. You married a Honda dealer. I mean, this was all meant to be. And what years were you the number one dealer nationwide?
Well, Rick was the number one in the 70s. He was the number one dealer in Akron and Cleveland in the country. And then as the dealerships in LA continued to grow and things, but he had even been number one in the country in some of the years in the 80s, but not in the late 80s, more in the early 80s when the Accord first came out in 1980. And then we then ended up getting the franchise here in Fort Lauderdale in 2002. So when we opened that dealership, we were number one in the country in 2003, and we're number one right now.
So you're number one right now in Honda today, presently.
Yeah, today we're the number one volume dealer year to date for Honda 2024. We're the number one volume dealer for Volkswagen, and we have been for that consecutive years. So yeah, most of our franchises are in the top. We're number
That's
three with
incredible.
Hyundai, and we're number three with Hyundai, number seven with Kia in the country.
That's incredible. So I want to, before we get into the business side, I think you bring a very unique perspective here as having worked, as a husband and wife duo for so many years. I want to just first, like, car business aside, do you recommend this to people in general, working with your spouse? You hear so many like negative things, and then there's people that are like, oh, it's great. Like, what's your take on this?
Wow, that's a great question. I really think it has to do with each individual person's passion. If you're a person that doesn't really just wants to support your husband's career and be that person that's a support to that career, that's one kind of relationship. It was different than my relationship. I wanted to win at what I was doing. He wanted to win at what he was doing. And we both happened to be in the car business. So I supported him. He supported me, but that wasn't how we really operated. We were both had different goals and different directions and different different passions, but they just came together to make one dealership operation. So I really think it has to do with the two people and what they're trying to get out of their careers and the relationship.
I mean, I think that makes sense, right? Like self-awareness. And so I guess what you're saying is like it's situational and we shouldn't just like draw a hard line, black and white. And look, I'll tell you, like, from my perspective, right? Having grown up in a family business, it was, I mean, the highs were high, the lows were low. It was, there's some things that are obviously tougher about in that and being in that environment. Whether you're by the way, whether you're an employee, or you are part of a family member, right? It's just a different type of operating environment when you're operating in a family business. But I think, net net brought me a lot of lessons for life, just problem solving and, navigating, really getting a level of emotional intelligence. I think it helps you develop that as well.
Well, I was the dealer's daughter for so long. I was always discounted as just being in the meetings because I was Bill Manley's daughter. So people didn't even give me any sort of respect or any consideration. I was just the dealer's daughter. I was there because the dealer was there and he brought his daughter along. And then after I asked my dad to leave and let me run the store by myself because that was never going to happen with him there, then I met Rick and I become the dealer's wife. I started all over again. You have to, in order to get respect at the level in which you might personally desire, you've got to earn that respect. And it's much more difficult when you're the dealer's daughter or the dealer's wife, opposed to being not related to the dealership owners or the dealership leadership.
Yeah, well, obviously we know the industry term PhD. Papa has a dealership, but we haven't heard the industry term husband has a dealership. That's a new one. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, I think that, I love that line, like chips on shoulders, put chips in pockets, right? It's like, it seems like just hearing you talk, it seems like you had this chip on your shoulder and, you wanted to prove yourself. And to me, at least from the first kind of 5 minutes of this conversation, that was likely a big driver of your success. So With that said, I do want to move forward. And I want to talk a little bit about just your operations today, your business. What does that look like today? And how have you reinvented yourself for operating, right? Since your husband passed, there's been obviously a transition in operations. I'm curious to know how you operate today.
Well, when what my husband did, what Rick did for the company was the advertising, the manufacturer relationships, the sales side of the unit sales, vehicle sales, and I worked on parts and service, personnel, like you said, the financing, that side of it. When he passed away, it was right in COVID, 2020. We regrouped with my team because I did have, was running all these dealerships and I did have long-term people. That was always really a positive. When he passed away, we all got together. We decided all the things that Rick did for the company and we figured out who was going to be best to help me with those areas. And fortunately, I had a 16-year CMO for marketing. I had a 15-year sales leader. We had all the people that we had were long term in our corporate office. There's 7 of us. There's not a lot. And we all just regrouped and for 35 years, he worked for one guy that produced all of our spots. We didn't have an ad agency. Rick was our ad agency. His brain
Hmm.
was our ad agency. And we produced our own TV spots. Rick and I were on all the TV spots. We produced our own radio spots. We did them ourselves. We did our own newspaper. So we worked with one gentleman who did that production for us. So after he'd been working with Rick for 35 years, it was pretty much, the car business is the car business. We're not really got a new message. It's what's your payment? What are the new models? So he took over that advertising for us to continue that. So our operations really haven't changed much. We haven't added any more people. We've just continued to
Wow.
we've just continued to do what we knew how to do.
So I want to break that down to a couple different segments. First of all, you mentioned that he was sort of the visionary with respect to marketing, right? And we know we're living in times where competition is more brutal than ever. There's crazy consolidation in the industry, and marketing, brand positioning, what you offer as a dealership, in my opinion, is more important than ever. What have you done on the marketing front since he's passed? How have you handled that? How have you, really focused on pioneering and continuing to be a leader in the market from that perspective?
Well, before Rick passed away, we were seen on TV and in all the ads and all the radio as Rick and Rita. We were a team and we were in all the commercials. We were a family owned and operated dealership group. And we built a community around that brand. All of our stores are named the same thing. They're all named Rick Case. So when Rick passed away, I brought my our 2 adult children. We have two. Rick and I had 2 children. Have 2 children, I should say. I'm sorry. And I brought them in immediately into the commercials. I never did a commercial by myself. So there was a period of about 30 days we went off TV, not our commercials, but without anyone on them while there was a period that the community found out that Rick had passed away because he wasn't sick very long. So then I brought my kids on. So now all of our commercials are with my son and my daughter and myself doing the commercials together. We are a brand. That is one of the edge that I believe sets us apart. We are a family owned and operated dealership group, and we are the most recognized community leaders in Broward County, South Florida. So that's our edge.
Hmm. So, in your mind, having family on these commercials in your mind is an edge because it tells the community that you're a true local family owned business, and that provides a competitive advantage. Is that how you see it?
I absolutely believe that's true. Coupled with we do so much community work. We are on our, we just finished the largest workforce housing project in Broward County's history. We built 76 homes called the Rick Case Habitat Community for Habitat for Humanity. We started the project. Our name is on it. We just did CPR kits for every um, middle school and high school in Broward County. I mean, we're doing these huge initiatives that we get recognition for as a news article. And I think the combination of our community support and that we're a family owned and operated car dealership group is the edge that's going to keep us as this consolidation continues at a fairly rapid pace in South Florida.
You're like a philanthropist disguising as a car dealer. Like,
Well, we've been doing this. We so believe in the community. We never
can I
did
ask
it to sell cars. It's
I
just
know I love pushing on this because I just think it's interesting to me that like there's like 30 logos on your website of different things you're involved with. I know you're sit on multiple boards. I just find it interesting kind of I like to dig into the brain. Like I want to know like why the drivers, right? That's what interests me. And it's like why do this? Right? Like at the end of the day, you're going to sell cars. And look, lots of people, obviously, we all want to get back to community. Everyone wants, like, we all want to be in a society that's thriving. But like, why is this so important to you? Right. And I'm not saying that, by the way, I'm not saying that negatively. I'm not saying that
I
negatively.
know.
I'm saying
I
that
know.
in like a positive way. Like, what is it about your life? Like, how did you get so that you decide to position a business? I'm a marketer, so I think about brand positioning. And like your brand positioning is super clear to me. It's like the family, the community, give back. That's definitely one way, right? Let's look at the complete other way, right? You have like the big company, I'm not going to pick on anyone, but like, let's just say CarMax, Carvana, like that's very different. You're going to expect a very corporate experience, clear expectations. It's like da 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 da. So is this like, why position yourself this way?
Truly, we've always been caring about people. We truly would see a need and then we would go after it. We had 16 bicycle stores all throughout Northeast Ohio and all the way down to Cincinnati. And we had these bicycle stores and we would see these kids coming in wishing they had a bicycle during the holidays. And Rick and I go, you know what? What if we ask everybody in the community to bring in the bicycle they no longer need because they're not using it anymore. Their kids outgrow it. And we'll just give them to any kid that couldn't afford a bicycle. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like a really good idea. So that was in 1981, and we still do it today. So it was just the idea of how could we match somebody who needed a hand up with something that we could help. And we've just continued that. We like to start initiatives that we believe are going to make a substantial difference in people's lives. May have nothing to do with the car business or even any publicity, like the Boys and Girls Clubs. When we got to South Florida in 1985, they had 3 boys clubs. And we said, wow, this is a really good place for kids to be safe after school, to get an education. And we led over the last 37 years from 3 boys clubs to 13 boys and girls clubs, serving 12,000 kids in Broward County.
Your stronghold in the South Florida market, and of course in Georgia, right? What led you to these markets? I mean, was this accidental? Do you think that, was this intentional? Like why these southern markets?
Okay, so we were in Cleveland with all these motorcycle stores and bicycle stores. We were the largest volume Honda dealer in the world. We were the largest volume Kawasaki dealer in the world. And we had these motorcycle stores that sold bicycles, mopeds, and all 4 brands of Kawasaki, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Honda. And that was kind of our main business from Cincinnati all the way up through Northeast Ohio. We had the Honda store in Cleveland, the Honda store in Akron. And actually, we pioneered every new car brought to the America since 1980. So we pioneered Isuzu in 1980. We opened 2 Isuzu stores. We opened Mitsubishi stores in the 80s, the Daewoo store. So when Acura was coming out with, when Honda was coming out with Acura, that was in 1985 when they were introducing the idea of getting dealers. And in the same year in 1985, so was Hyundai from Korea. So we applied for both of those franchises, the Acura dealership and a Hyundai dealership. And we were awarded those. We picked Fort Lauderdale because we thought, it's going to be difficult opening an Acura store in Cleveland, Ohio, the first Japanese luxury vehicle. because that was before Lexus and before Infinity. And the Korean product we felt would be a better opportunity as well, since really there was no Korean products at all sold in America. Most people in 1985 thought of the Korea only the war. They
Yeah.
weren't like Japanese
I
were
mean,
selling
I
cameras.
say, yeah, I wasn't alive back then, but I
Yeah, well,
believe you.
they were. That's what everybody knew the Japanese made a good product because they had the cameras and they had other things, but the Koreans had nothing they were selling in the United States. So that's what got us to Fort Lauderdale. We wanted to pick a place that we thought would be the best melting pot for these brand new franchises. And it was either LA, Texas, or South Florida. And we picked South Florida because it was the same time zone as we had the stores in Ohio. So that's how we ended up in Fort Lauderdale. And at the same time, we convinced Hyundai with our enthusiastic proposal. They said, you know what? You're going to be an amazing dealer. Why don't you open a point in Atlanta, Georgia? So we opened two Hyundai stores on February 18th, 1986, and one Acura store on March 20th, 1986. Those were the opening days for those brands in America. And that's how we ended up in Atlanta and how we ended up in Fort Lauderdale.
This episode is brought to you by my very own car dealership guy industry job board. CDGjobs.com, my industry job board connecting the best talent in automotive with the best companies, will remain absolutely free for CDG listeners to post and fill available roles at their companies. This free job board is for anyone in automotive, vendors, dealers, lenders, manufacturers, auto tech, everyone. Already, over 100 companies have posted open positions, including Lithia Motors, Recurrent, Credit Acceptance, Veros Credit, Cars Commerce, Shift Digital, Plug, Fullpath, Westlake, Trade Pending. You get the point. The best part is that when these companies hire through cdgjobs.com, they are hiring the most informed candidates in the marketplace. So don't hesitate. You can add your open roles today by visiting cdgjobs.com or clicking the link in the show notes below. That's cdgjobs.com. Talk to me a little bit about your Fort Lauderdale Honda store, which is, again, number one volume. How is that store operated? Like, give us some of the nitty gritty. I want to get
Oh,
into the details.
absolutely. So that was a market that was developed. It was an open point. That area was an open point. It was when a new freeway was put in just on the west side, right up next to the Everglades. So it was where new communities were happening and it was an open point. So we ended up building a 6-story parking garage. It's about 800,000 square feet, the largest Honda dealership, built in America. And because we believed that we were going to be, because we've always believed we were going to be number one. We just never thought that was always our focus and our passion. So the way we've opened that store, it's very unique in order to drive that much traffic there to be the largest volume. We have an 8-pump gas station there that we sell gas to our customers at cost. There's an activation called the Rick Case Rewards card. And that activation card, it's like a credit card, but it's not a financial card. It's just an activation card. So you can go up to the pump, activate the gas pump with your card, and pump gas at cost.
Wait, 1 second. That's for anyone at any time. If I'm a customer, I can come pump gas at cost at your Honda store?
Yes, it's a full gas station with 8 pumps. We also
That's
have a
amazing.
car wash there, the same thing. The car wash is car wash for life. You can come every day as often as you want, and you have this Rick Case card. It activates the car wash, and it has a dryer. It's a really nice car wash. So we have a barber shop there. I mean,
Get out of here. Whoa, 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 whoa. You have a barbershop. I love that. You're giving me this is giving me, and I'm not comparing here, but it's giving me like Longo Toyota vibes. I had Dougie Rowe on the podcast, and we were talking about them being a destination. It just seems like you've sort of have a similar strategy in like being a destination and not being a dealership.
Well, you'll love this then. So you've got to remember this was a brand new market. A new freeway had come out. There's a brand new market. So there was a lot of homes being built, but there were no public services there. There was no clerk of courts. There was no place to get a driver's license, no place to get a wedding or a marriage certificate. So we gave Broward County an office at our Honda store. So we had a wedding chapel. You could get married there. You could get your driver's license. You could pay your tickets. We gave them space in our dealership to open a clerk of courts for Broward County because there wasn't anything out there. Anything we could do to get traffic to the dealership has always been our goal.
Okay, that's very interesting. So you've really optimized. Okay, you've optimized for traffic to the dealership, and have you ever like, what's the return been like on that? Like, what do you know about that? Right. So people come to, I mean, do people really come just, hey, like I get my haircut at Rick Case Honda? Like, is that really what people do? How does that work?
Oh my gosh, the barbershop is full. They've got 3 shares in there. Absolutely, they come there because it's a discounted price too. And our theory is that if somebody's coming and getting gas for cost and they're driving a Cadillac, they're going to think, you know what? I'm going to give that Rick Case an opportunity when I'm ready to trade in my car. Why wouldn't I? We are the largest voting precinct in Broward County. So when they were looking
Come
for places
on.
to
Oh
vote,
my.
you know, they didn't have any place to vote. We said, you can use our dealership to vote. So we have the largest, we have 40, I think it's 4,600 registered voters that come to our dealership showroom every time there's a vote. And we clear out the parking lot. We offer coffee and donuts. We do the whole thing. Everybody wants to volunteer to be on the voting at the Rick Case location. So the idea is the more times people come to the store getting a free benefit, wouldn't they think, let me give those people a chance? Let me give them a chance. That's why
I
that's
love
why
this.
we're number one.
Yeah. I mean, you did answer my question because I was wondering, yeah, like, you know, and I was wondering, like, what are you doing differently? Right? Like, why, like, to be number one, that doesn't happen accidentally. And so you are a traffic machine, right? You're funneling people, all these people to your dealership. And oh, by the way, you can buy a car here as well.
And we also do something that nobody else does. We double the factory warranty. So if you buy a Hyundai from us, you get a 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Or a Kia, it's 20 years, 200,000-mile warranty. Or a
How?
Honda,
How does that
and
work?
we double the factory warranty. So the factory, and this for free. You get that for free with every car you buy. So when the warranty is with Hyundai, it's a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. By the way, did you know Rick wrote that? So in 1996, when Hyundai was in real trouble, I don't know, were you born then?
When is it? Yeah, yeah. I was born there,
You were
not
born by
85.
1996?
Yeah,
You said
yeah.
you
I was.
weren't born by
Come on.
1985. I just
Hey, come
told
on.
you.
I have, listen, 3 kids. I'm in my 30s. I was born there.
Okay. Well, in 1996, when Hyundai was really in trouble, which you, like I said, you weren't living as a car owner then, but Hyundai was really good. They went from selling 300,000 cars a year in 1988 to selling 90,000 cars in 1996. They were basically going out of business here in the United States. We had all these Hyundai stores because we'd opened a couple in Ohio, we'd opened a couple in Florida, we had a couple in and we had Hyundai had to succeed for our operation to succeed. We didn't have the Honda store then. We didn't have the Volkswagen store. So Rick went. We went to the Koreans. We went to the Hyundai executives, and we said, "You have a choice. You can either leave the country because you're just about ready to go out of business. Most of their dealers had given back the franchise and taken their big, beautiful dealerships and made them Toyota or Nissan or something else. Or you can change the name of your brand, change it from Hyundai to anything else, and let's start fresh with your product. Or you can do my 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, which at back then in 80, in 96, it was only the 24 was pretty much it. 24 months, 24,000 miles. That was the standard warranty for cars back in 96. So he said, if you do this 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, people are going to go, wow, maybe I should consider a Hyundai again.
Well, that worked, we know in hindsight. But I'm curious now about the economics behind this. How do you double that for your customers? Like, how do you do that and stay competitive? Like, behind the scenes, what does that cost you? How do you actually do that?
We buy an extended service policy, and we bank that most people aren't going to keep their car 10 years or 100,000 miles. And those that do, they have a warranty. When you think about it, how much is it going to cost to put an extra 100,000 miles and 10 years on a car? How many people do you know that have a car over 10 years? Not very many. So it's not really that much risk. It's a cost of doing advertising. It's an advertising.
It's a marketing
Right now,
cost.
one of the things we're doing right now, because one of the biggest complaints that people have is how long it takes to buy a car. It's been a complaint for for a number of years. People say, "Wow, why does it take me so long to buy a car?" So what I developed about 2 years ago is 90-minute guarantee, or the first payment's on us. So the idea is you come into our dealership, and if you're not in and out with your new car or used car in 90 minutes or less, your first payment is on us. Now, in order to do that, the people have to go online. They have to fill out a lot of the paper. They have to fill out basically all the paperwork that you have to do at the dealership. So they have to do some work at home. And then they get a green check mark, either a QR code, or they can print off a green check mark. They bring that in, and they're going to be in and out in 90 minutes or less. So you just keep, adding benefits to people.
And do you still have scenarios with people going over 90 minutes where you end up paying their payment?
It's been very rare because they have to fill out the form online. So we've already picked out the car. They've picked out the car. They've made the deal. They know the price. All basically we're doing is just getting the car. It's already going to be ready anyway.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
got the car online.
I can just imagine that person that comes there and sits for 45 minutes with the insurance company and 90 minutes is up. Payment's on you.
Well, we do all the insurance online as well.
Yeah. So you make sure that they come prepped so that there's no excuses.
And they can do it all online. They complain about being at the dealership too long. Okay, we'll sit at home and do it all. It's all available now. You can completely purchase a car at home, and we can deliver it to you if you choose.
What's it like to be a general manager at Rick Case Auto? What's your day like?
Being a general manager at Rick Case Honda, or being a general manager at Rick Case Hyundai, or any of the stores, it's I welcome you to have them on your show. They will tell you it's a great, great job. It's not even a job. They have so much fun. It's more like,
Why?
well, first of all, they're very proud to wear their Rick Case shirt like I have on today. I mean, this is my uniform. They are so proud to wear it because wherever they go, people are coming up to them and going, "Oh my God, you work with Rick Case. They gave to my Humane Society, or my family's living in one of their homes, or they gave to the Cleveland Clinic Hospital." They're proud to wear the Rick Case shirt. I think that's first of all, which makes them so motivated to be on our family. Plus, we treat our associates as family, and we treat our customers as our friends. That's why we wrote our book. We wrote a book to celebrate our 50th anniversary, which was 2012. So that was 12 years ago. We wrote a book called Our Customers Are Friends. And it's free. We give it out at the dealership. You can get it online as well, or anywhere you want. But it's a book about it's a book about how we treat our customers, how we support the community, what we did start to finish. It's a whole story about our career, pioneering all these brands as they came through. I mean, we were the largest smart car dealer. We brought Fiat back. I mean, you name it. We've tried it all. But to be a great general manager in our company is just basically having good people skills. We always say, you can, with the right personality, the positive personality, you can train the skills of sales. We're just a people business.
How do you compensate your GMs?
Well, our compensation plan for our general managers is 100% commission, as is all of our sales managers, our salespeople, service advisors. We are a 100% commission organization, except for possibly the title clerks and things like that are hourly. Our general managers are paid on adjusted net. Adjusted net is operational net, not including any fixed expenses, anything, from the fixed expense line, the rent, the insurance, the repairs and maintenance on the buildings,
Interesting.
all of those things are not included in their expense. So it's top line, less controllable expenses. Their people, their advertising, that's how we pay them. They get a percentage of that with a draw against it.
I think that's really interesting because the gripe you usually hear about being paid on net is that, oh, I don't want to pay for the owner's real estate and stuff like that. It's a conflict of interest. So I think that's a really cool model that you do adjusted net. Now tell me, but tell me about 100% commission, right? Like I want to know why do you have this type of model? And obviously, I'm not, and I don't mean that in a way like clearly it's performance driven. I know that, but I would make the case that is that really the smartest business decision for everyone, given you have a pretty predictable business and you know, you may be even overpaying by being 100% commission versus having, some portion salary, maybe offering a little bit more stability, even arguably to the employee, but a lower commission basis. So, anyways, what's your thinking about 100% commission? Why do this?
Well, the way that we've always presented it, and we've had a lot, very stable workforce. So that is proven to us that we must be on the right track because we do have very stable workforce, is we explain to them, we are giving you an opportunity to run your own business. We seek out entrepreneurs, whether it's an entrepreneur in the service advisor, it's an entrepreneur as a parts manager. We want each of our associates to have that entrepreneur bug that I'm going to run my own business. A service advisor runs his own business. He really does. A salesman runs his own business. So why we believe that if they're going to run their own business, then if they do well, then they are going to receive the financial compensation in line with what their effort is and what their results are. And if you design those percentages to your business model, then you're never going to be paying them too much. You're not going to pay them too much if you design the percentage based on your model. Like, for example, just to give you an example, like, let's just talk about sales managers for a minute. Let's say I have 8 sales managers at the Honda store, and I'm going to say, I'm not going to pay out. It doesn't matter whether it's the Honda store with 8 sales managers or the Mazda store with 2, for example. I'm not going to pay out any more than 12% of my, I don't know what you want to say. If it's, the gross profit of the department, which is F&I, including the PVR, then it doesn't matter whether I have 8 or if I have 2. I'm only going to pay out that much. So if I add another sales manager to my Honda store and go from 8 sales managers to 9 sales managers, which is going to produce more gross profit. Otherwise, why would you add them? Everybody else gets reduced.
How are you handling recruitment of salespeople, technicians? How are you driving that recruitment? Are you having struggles?
Yeah, I have an HR department, and we've had one for years. And when we need salespeople, we'll, run traditional ads. We have a recruiting bonus for our associates if they can bring somebody in that fits the position. There's a recruiting bonus that they get we want them to bring in their friends and to work into the dealership. But we haven't, we're fully staffed. The only place we're looking for people would be technicians. I think the whole industry is exploding in the fixed operations because when the cars were highly priced with the short supply, people bought out their leases, they kept their cars, they didn't trade them in because the payment was going to be so much more. So and the cars are made great anyway. So they kept their cars. That has promoted a lot more service work. And what I'm seeing is that we've had record service every single month. I'm talking about total company wide. We are breaking the record in our service every month. And we've been in business for over 60 years. So some of our stores have been 38 years. And that's how big service is. So that is the place where we're most looking to come up with a solution to build technicians.
All right. I want to ask you also, we know affordability is, the hottest thing in our country right now, or maybe say the coldest thing because people, can't afford cars like they could in the past. And it's a problem. And so I'm curious to know about, a couple questions here, but first things first, where you're at in the country, are there any different, like regional differences, regional trends that you're riding? We know that in the Northeast, leasing is always, the highest leasing penetration, right? Go to New York, people are leasing like 2 out of every 3 vehicles. So I'm curious to know like how you are managing this affordability crisis that our industry is dealing with, where you're based. The first thing that came to my mind when I was thinking about this question was, well, Florida has had a massive influx of new residents. Lots of these people came with money, and so maybe just maybe you're dealing with a population that has more disposable income and can actually afford cars. I'm just like hypothesizing. I want to hear it from you. How are you dealing with this affordability issue in your market?
Well, it hasn't really touched us yet, to be honest. Fort Lauderdale, South Florida, the people still are buying cars. We're still selling. We have inventory now. Of course, everyone has inventory. It's availability of inventory, but it isn't stockpiling up. The brands that we have, we are with brands that still have a loyal customer base, and also in Atlanta. So I have not seen my associates, my general managers, telling me that they're struggling getting people to have an affordable payment. Where the manufacturers are definitely discounting, there's definitely incentives. There's, they're working with the interest rates now. There's some subventive with interest rates. Leasing in Florida is very high, like you just mentioned, a good strong 80% leases. Atlanta's not so.
In Florida,
Yeah, yeah. Florida and the Northeast are the same. They're both almost all leasing. Oh, absolutely. And that was a big turnaround when the supply situation, people stopped leasing. So we're going to really start feeling that those leases are not going to be coming back that we're used to having come back, which was our CPO chain of inventory. So
how are you prepping for that? Are you prepping for it? Is it just like wait and see? And again, for the audience listening, we're referring to the leasing cliff here, where we're like a month or two away of having a massive drop, 50 to 80% in some cases for some stores of lease returns. Obviously, fewer lease returns means fewer used cars in the market. And again, it's a supply constrained environment. So how are you preparing for that, Rita?
well, that's a really good question, and we're struggling with figuring out exactly what the impact's going to be. The people that were leasing that bought their leases, we're hoping that they're going to be trading them in now because they bought out their lease and now they're going to trade it in as a regular purchase and maybe release another car because now leases are again affordable. So we're counting on that, and that would also be a used car stream for us. We do believe that we're going to have less availability for CPOs, plus the auction too. That's another thing. We used to buy a lot of cars that low miles off the rental car companies, but they also didn't buy any cars because they had no cars available to them from the manufacturers. So it's going to be interesting. But I'm not too worried. I think there'll be used cars available. There always have been. People that were buying out their lease are going to come and buy a car. People that postponed buying a car in 2022, 2021, and 2023, they're going to be ready for a car. So I think we're going to see a steady stream of used cars coming in. Maybe not lease returns, but still used cars.
Mhm. So if I just sum this up, I mean, all in all, it seems like you're not really too concerned in your market with respect to affordability. Are you seeing any stark differences between Florida and Atlanta when it comes to that affordability issue?
No, not yet. Because remember, in Atlanta, we have Audi, Mazda, Kia, and Hyundai. Those are the brands we have there, and Genesis. We have a couple Genesis. And so I'd have to say no, not yet. Not yet. Are you having some states that are saying people can't afford to buy cars?
I would say it's a lot beyond states. I would say it's looking at, first of all, we know certain brands, increased prices more than others, which has,
Right, like
created an
Stellantis,
issue.
for example. Yeah,
Yeah, which we know that. I mean, Stellantis is definitely, on the high end, over like 50% since 2019, and prices are coming down now. So they're readjusting. But yeah, I mean, I think, we're seeing lease penetration rise across the country. So more people are leasing. Leasing has become more attractive. And it's not that rates have gone down or anything like that. It's simply that people need that lower payment, and leasing is just a more attractive option. We're seeing payments over $1,000 a month at record highs. Now, we should expect payments to be at record highs because inflation, but the rise in car payments has outpaced the rise in inflation. And so, yeah, I think altogether, it's definitely, it's definitely been a big issue for consumers. And we haven't seen while prices have come down and are coming down, I mean, it's been pretty steady. Yeah, on the used car side, we are seeing a little bit. I'm getting you kind of like a full update here, but bear with me. On the used car side, we are seeing a little bit of accelerated depreciation now versus prior years like 2019 and whatnot. Again, we'll see how that impacts the retail markets, but all in all, I think it definitely is something that I think a lot about. And what does the future look like for car sales, and where do prices go from here?
Well, the manufacturer is going to continue to make cars. They have factories. They've got to make cars. That's their business. They will figure a way to price it so people can afford it. They're not going to let the cars pile up at their ports and stop building them. So if in fact the price point gets to be where it's not able to, sell at the volume they need to sell so that the dealers buy the cars, they will figure a way to make the price work. That's what they've always done in the past. We're not just going to sit here and be in a stalemate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what the competent manufacturers do, but I think that also, again, I don't want to say incompetent, but maybe not as savvy manufacturers that are slower to adjust, that has a real world impact. And that's when I have dealers, sending me messages on Twitter and LinkedIn saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a job at a Toyota store," or "Hey, I'm looking for a job at a Honda store," or whatever, because they know that they're going to make the bread over there and they will have more value in what they're selling. So I think that's kind of, the overall kind of industry trend that I'm noticing today.
Well, I believe that the manufacturers, if they're going to have to come up with whatever we need to sell cars. I don't see the interest rates going down. I'm on the board.
Well, they're going to have to. So they're going to have to swallow that pill and, make adjustments as quickly as possible. How do you view your used car business in general in this market? Like, do you have any stores that outperform on used versus other? Obviously some stores are stronger in new, some are stronger in used, some are stronger in fixed. So where do you kind of view yourself, and how do you just treat your used car business in general?
Our used car business this year has been great, definitely up over last year. Those reasons are more availability to get used cars. That's, a plus. And all of our franchises equally have a similar used car growth. It's not like the Honda store has less or more, or the Maserati store has less or more. We're finding that the used car business is very much growing, and it all depends on if you have the right wide variety of inventory. So that's what's changed in the last couple of years. It was a roller coaster with used car inventory. Ever since the pandemic, it was a bit of a roller coaster. So we're feeling very positive about the used car business this year and going on in the future. We think it's going to be great.
What's exciting to you nowadays? This is like my new favorite question. But it's really like, I've been asking lately, but like, what's keeping you excited? What's on your mind nowadays? Like, what's exciting?
Well, just becoming Time Dealer of the Year was certainly very exciting. Out of 17,000 car dealerships in the United States, to be chosen as the Time Dealer of the Year. I'm still like on cloud nine over that. I got invited to go to the 100 most influential people. So I was surrounded by all these famous, sports stars and movie stars. And so I felt like I was, something big. It was really, really fun. Got all dressed up, the whole bit. So I have to tell you, I really looked forward to that. It was really exciting. I've been named the Lifetime, I'm getting the Lifetime award at NAMAD this year in August. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited about being the number one.
I'm on the Car Dealership Guy podcast.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, like
I'm
where
kidding.
do I
I'm
get
kidding.
beyond
I'm
that?
kidding. I'm kidding.
Send it
I'm
out to
just
all my
joking.
family and friends. You got to listen to this.
There you go, baby. There you go.
But definitely, I'm excited about the car business as well. I'm glad to be in business. I know people thought, well, wasn't it great having the order taking short supply? But no, that's not the business. This is the fun part. So when I say I'm number one, I really earned it by selling the most when you have it on your lot.
Before we wrap up, any closing thoughts? I mean, what's your outlook for our industry? Like, where do you see this industry headed in the next couple years here? Really, with all this change happening now in the market, from consumer preferences, how people buy a car, technology. right? What's your overall outlook for the business?
Well, I think it's going to be a really exciting time. One of the most exciting 10 years of the auto industry. Both the EV, the hybrids. I think hybrids are going to become much more popular than the EV trend right now. I think the early adopters are kind of done. And the ramifications of having a battery car now that the Teslas are going to be 12 and 15 years old, we're going to see, how that whole trade-in value works when the battery is on its last leg or its last charge. But I really feel like this next 10 years is going to be really exciting for a car dealer. The whole AI that's coming out, where it's going to be able to integrate with your customer service and have a consistent customer experience. I believe that 75% of every single phone call that comes into a dealership, and even the online communication, can be handled by AR efficiently, accurately, consistently, honestly. And then the other 25% will necessarily be something that has to actually happen by human interaction. But I see that as being such an advantage to both the customer and efficiencies at the dealership. So I'm really excited about AI and what it's going to do in the dealership environment. I also think that the cars that come out are going to be really fun with all this connectivity that they're going to have, and some of the new ways that they're building the cars. They're coming out edgy. Everybody's kind of competing with the style. So I think it's going to be fun again, like the 50s when every car came out was totally different. So I'm excited about that as well. I'm very positive about the franchises that we have, the Hondas, Hyundai, Kia, the Audi, Volkswagen, Genesis. The brands we have, I'm really excited about. We don't have every brand, but the ones we have, I'm feeling like they have a great future, a solid future, and that they all support the dealer body. They all support the dealer network. The
Yeah,
concept
you definitely have a good batch of brands on your
and I
side.
really,
So
I
that's
really think that's important. So I think my best years are ahead, and I'm hoping to be number one with all my franchises. That's my goal.
I love it. Great positive mindset. Rita, this has been super fun. Thanks so much for coming on. Really had a blast.
Thank you very much, Josie. I appreciate it.
We'll have to do this again.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Please give the podcast a rating, consider subscribing to the show, and check the show notes for links to what we talked about. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.